Welcoming you to the Leela podcast, a place where you can discover all things Osho Leela. You'll get to meet the community, learn about community life, and listen in as we share about our upcoming events and workshops from the perspective of the facilitators and the attendees, supporting you to find your way to Leela. Hello and welcome to the Leela podcast. My name is Louise. Today we have the delightful, the magical Bhavo, who's here today to talk about all things magic. If you don't know Bhavo, many of you will, but some of you won't. He is a guardian here at Osho Leela, a new role, which we'll talk into in a second. And he is here to share his journey, his magical journey, some of his stories. And also, tap into like where he's at now. Bhavo has been here for many, many years, and he has been a follower, a sannyasa of Osho for many, many years. And with that and with his life journey, he has now transformed into, for me, a guide, a mentor, somebody who I look to for support when it comes to card readings, astrology, and just general mentorship. I really feel supported by him. So it's a real pleasure to have you on the podcast, Bhavo. Once again, this is our second. You were the first one on the podcast, and that was, my gosh, that's probably about a year ago now.
Longer.
Is it longer than that?
Yeah,
okay.
Than that. It was way back.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
So, back again. And what I would love to start with is just a little sharing about like who you are, your role here, like wherever that wants to take you, your journey to Osho Leela, wherever you want to go with that.
Okay, great. Anyway, lovely to be here with you, Louise, in this podcast. And yes, my role, where I've come from, where we are, where we're going. Well, having been a sannyasin for so many years, 40-something years, I've been a sannyasin of Osho and lived in many communities around the world, and finally I arrived in Osho Leela. I became a sannyasin in 1980, but I was travelling in the early 70s in India. I had the call to travel. In those days. It was adventure because there was no mobile phones, there was no internet, and going to India was like going to the Orient. It was an exciting thing, and I went overland. And a little bit of the history of where, as you asked, I'm coming from when it comes to, if you like, the magic work. Well, in my 20s, even late teens, I was using a lot of psychedelics, and they opened something up in me very strongly. And if you like, I got the call to go east, like many of us did then. It was a spiritual calling. It wasn't just a fantasy of going to the east. It was actually a spiritual calling, and I left everything, wealthy Jewish family, my friends that I had then, and suddenly I was on the road going to India overland. And I arrived in India and I couldn't find what I was looking for. I mean, I lived in Goa for many years, and it was paradise. And I really believed that using psychedelics, that could enlighten me big time. And in a certain sense it did, because it opened many, many doorways inside of me and showed me so much beyond what we can normally see inside and outside. And so it was a totally transformative experience in my mind, which had expanded big time. However, my emotions were not in that same place as my mind was, and so I knew I had to do work. I had to do deep work. And so eventually, after about 5 or 6 years of traveling around India and doing this and that, and taking a lot more acid and stuff like that, I arrived in Pune. And that's where I started the deep inner work to transform all the negative, compressed emotions which I'd lived with for 28 years and change them into something positive, decompress myself fundamentally. So that's the early time that I was living, as I say, in India and doing this work from my 20s to my 30s, and then in many other communes in Holland, in Germany. Eventually I got to America and lived in California, again with the sannyasins, but I was in a different space then, completely different space then. And so all the time I never really let go of using, if you like, the psychedelics. They took me to Osho, and I found them extremely useful in looking inside. I find that they've always been a great tool and a great teacher as well. And when I say psychedelics, I don't mean normal drugs like, drugs. I've never been really into cocaine or any of that kind of stuff. But the mind expanders, the natural medicine, I've found very useful, and how absurd it is that these things are made illegal, but I understand that, governments don't like us to have an expanded consciousness. So working with these things now, coming into the present, I still support the use of these mind expanded natural medicines, Louise. I find them very, very useful for people to use and to take on their journey if they're on a spiritual journey. So it all depends on the use of them. But then coming back to my own work, which is magic, alchemy, empowerment, like I said, in my life, I was very compressed as a teenager. I couldn't do much. I couldn't express much. I didn't know how to. I was living in my own little world that I thought was a great world, and I didn't know anything of an expanded world until I met Osho, until actually I took LSD, because that kind of mirrored for me my own compression, my own repression. And at a certain point I realized I had to do something about it. I couldn't walk around like that, because what acid also did for me, apart from expand my mind and consciousness, was it showed me my repression inside. And so at a certain point I knew it was a do or die situation. I had to either go to sort this out or start taking medication. And there was no way I was going to take medication. I had a destiny to fulfill. I knew this right from the very beginning. So I started to actually hear voices saying to me, go to Pune. I heard them in myself, in my head. And on the full moon 1980, I arrived in Pune. Lived with Osho, as close as I am to you now, Louise, really close up. Looked in his eyes and saw pretty much embodied emptiness. That's what I remember seeing when I saw Osho. Human body, nobody inside, no person, just, if you like, a presence inside a body. And that affirmed for me the path which I had to move on. So starting to do all this work and heal myself, living in communities, doing workshops, taking one step forward, 2 steps back, then 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because the path of looking inside and really inner transformation is an arduous path in a way. If it was all lovey-dovey and great, fantastic, and we can all live in the heart together, well, that's wonderful, but it's not like that. It's also looking at the shadow stuff, the pain, the anger, the rage, the struggle, and the difficulties that we have living an embodied existence in this life. And being aware of that and acknowledging it and saying yes to those difficult parts as well, that's been an amazing catalyst for change in myself, because looking at the dark stuff has been as important as celebrating, because I've always found you cannot really celebrate until you've resolved a certain amount of inner conflict and negativity inside yourself, inside myself. So at a certain point in my life, after working, looking inside, looking at all the chakras, looking at all the pain, sharing the tears, expressing the anger, doing the meditations, doing the workshops, and having a lot of fun as well, because it's an amazingly beautiful trip to have lived with a bunch of people on the same path as you, moving towards the same goal. I got to the point where I realized I needed to teach and share my own experience, because I've always believed and understood that you can't really teach until you've walked your own walk, then you can talk your own talk, if you like. So you've got to walk your talk, have walked your talk. And so at a certain point I started teaching. And at first I began with theatre groups, because theatre has always been a fun thing for me to do. It's been always fun for me. Getting up in front of the crowd has been one of my great fears, but also it's been a great excitement, because that's where I found the juice was. Facing the challenges in life and not wasting time, not procrastinating, but saying, okay, not going to look before I leap, going to do it. And so I did it. And sometimes it was difficult, because I always used to judge myself. I'm not okay, not good enough. But then after a while of doing it and practicing it and getting affirmed by my friends, because friends are really important on this path. And once I got affirmed again and again and again by the crowd, started to love my voice, started to feel good about my body and who I was, and doing it again and again, and of course allowing my heart to open as well, because what's also been really important for me is having the connection mind, body, spirit. The mind, body, spirit connection is important, because if there's disconnects in different ways, then you end up talking from your head and not your heart. So it's important to have the connection between the mind, the heart, the belly, and be grounded. Then you can share your truth, like I can share my truth. And so I started to work with people in theatre, but what I found was that when I got people up in front of the crowd, there was incredible fear there. They'd get up and they'd give them a role, and suddenly they realised they were having a painful situation come up with their family or their school teacher and stuff like that. And so I started having to do emotional release with them in the theatre group. And it was called Being a Star. So people would book for my group, and suddenly they found themselves doing emotional release and expressing their negativity. So eventually, after doing 2 or 3 years of that, I realised I had to change the name of the workshop to Reclaim Your Power, because I was ending up doing a lot of emotional work instead of just getting up, doing theatre and doing a show after. And that was what happened to me, and that's by nature what people do experience when they work with me. Their stuff tends to come up, the fears tend to come up just by being around me. And in my workshop, that's what I started to do, started to get people up and work with them individually on my carpet, which I've created for myself, carpet work, which has become a staple of my work that I do now in the group room. And then they go through a process of looking deep inside, and with the trust and with the affirmation and with the friendship and the connection to heart, then they start to feel safe enough to really let go with the difficult stuff, the shadow stuff, the anger, the pain, sharing themselves, allowing themselves to be vulnerable. And so I did this work for many years with empowerment intensives, Reclaim Your Power, and I loved that work. But then what happened to me was I wanted to start to bring all of my gifts, in a way, together into one workshop so that I could catalyze people who'd already done work on themselves and start to work with the ancestral wounds, meaning the witch wounds for the women. Because I found always that I attracted more women into my workshops than men. And working with women, seeing how they'd been put down and told to shut up and keep quiet, and, you know, all of the stuff, even, you know, the marriage vows to love and to obey only got changed a few years ago. So, you know, these changes that humanity needs to go through take a long time because they've been repressed a long time, the women, for hundreds and hundreds of years. So freeing them up has been a work for me. And I realized that actually this is where I need to go. So I've always, as I said, attracted more women than men in the groups. And so now, having worked with beginners, if you like, people that have just come to my workshops and out of curiosity, and then they start to find at the beginning they need to do emotional work. Now I've started to work with people, not just women, men as well, that have done some work on themselves, but now want to go deeper into sharing their wisdom, sharing their light work. So I work with light workers in the magic empowerment work. I work with witches. I work with wise women and men, upcoming wizards and magicians, and hags and crones, and the people that really want to find their voice. And they come to me, and then I put them through a process of going into the heart, because it needs to come from love and the heart. The magic without the love and the heart it's bound just to be in the mind and not in a grounded place. So first I work with the heart. From the heart, then I work with the power center, and then I work opening the voice and allowing whatever is there to come through. And it's a beautiful experience because finally, after so many centuries, I see women and men flowering, coming into their power, able to share their magic, share their wisdom, share their truth, share their creativity, whatever it is that's there for them that they needed and were afraid to put out becomes available. And of course it takes work, and it takes practice, and it takes affirmation, and it takes loving yourself. and being loved by others. So finally, this is the work which I've not amalgamated, but brought together. Yeah, that's the word. And I love this work. It's my life work. It's what I do. I enjoy it, and it's fun as well, because it's not serious work. Also, it's work of the heart, and it's what I do in Osho Leela and wherever I am.
Yeah, and it's, kind of as you're talking, it's reminding me of my experience having worked in your workshops and the processes that you've taken me through. And, I think I didn't really, when we set this podcast up, it was like, yeah, let's just do a podcast. But I didn't really kind of realise how much I've changed in the last few years of being at Osho Leela, of receiving the medicine of you, of Sanjula, and all the facilitators that have supported me to kind of find this space inside. It's kind of I can only describe it as a space inside where I'm more grounded, I'm less fearful, I can, put podcasts out onto the internet without any kind of qualms, I remember the first few, I was just like, oh, what are we doing? And then it's but just being here, doing the workshops has been so profound, really, and it's really hard to describe because it's these shifts that happen inside, and and I've been and done the emotional release work and stood up in front of the crowd and been really supported by you, Bhavo. You are a magician, in the work that you do, and and it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So powerful to be held in those experiences. And I've looked around and I've seen other things and I'm like, wow, we do such a great job here holding people in the heart and creating that space for them to, as you say, flower. So it feels I feel really privileged to kind of work with you, to be part of what we do here at Osho Leela. And it's so lovely because, I come from having been one of those audiences, I was setting up an online business. I was trying to put myself out there. And there was always this little voice inside that was holding myself back, And that wasn't my path. My path was to be here. And I know these people that you're talking about, they're people that are online coaches, they're Reiki masters, they're doing all of this stuff, which is really supporting them to grow and to heal. And now they're ready to share it. But, they're stuck here because of those wounds, that you're talking about. And they are deep and they are ancestral. And they are restricting so many people on the path. People that have this wisdom, they have so many gifts to share, but because they can't get it out, because they have this often, deep stuff, and we've worked a lot with my belly of really kind of healing that in order to then really speak from a more authentic space. And it's so needed, and I'm so behind you in this work. And I know the last couple of workshops that you've done, which have taken, they've gone from magic, alchemy, and empowerment. Now it's empower your magic within. And the people that have come out of those workshops, because I get to see, being here and then doing the promo and stuff like that, I get to see the other side. And it's just amazing, it's amazing to see how people do transform and the difference that you're making in the world, basically, which is much needed. So I appreciate you and the work that you do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, just coming back to what you said right at the very beginning, Louise, because you spoke about how you transformed in yourself and how these things have happened to you, and how being here in this process, in this world of Osho Leela, in the energy of Osho Leela, and having gone through the trainings yourself, gone through workshops, and also standing up and being seen yourself, sometimes you don't realize the change that's happened to you, because suddenly you think, God, I've changed. And integration is not like suddenly you do a workshop and you suddenly put something in place and say, right, that's fixed. It doesn't work like that. It's a slow kind of process of existence, putting it's like feelers out and moving things back where they should be and taking things out, and suddenly the colours change inside of you, and suddenly you see that the stuff that actually was repressing you before is only a shadow. It suddenly doesn't have any power. It's like suddenly its legs have been taken away, and you can start to breathe and then start to let go and actually have fun.
And it's amazing. And like one of the people that come to mind is Prem Turiya, who's done a lot of your work over the years. And for me, because she's, to me, she's an elder, she's a woman that has been through a lot, and she won't mind me speaking because she comes and shares. She's blossoming, and I'm like, because there's this whole thing. It's like it's harder to change after 40. It's harder to change. The neuroplasticity. It's harder to make changes in your life. We know that. So seeing somebody who is older and they're able to make shifts and really come into their power, like it's just been so beautiful to see that, and it gives me kind of hope and knowing that there is always, if we're willing to go towards the painful parts, which can be really hard, and it can keep people stuck for a long, long time, that magic can happen, alchemy can happen, empowerment can happen, so...
Well, I was fortunate enough to having lived with great masters, having lived with Osho, as close as I am to you, pretty much at moments, and also the Humaniversity with Viresh, and having gone through the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s as well, and always been in that kind of process of expansion and looking inside. I see, the people here that really take up the challenges of looking inside, expand. It's almost like Osho Leela has a quality of energy that people sense as they walk through the door. It's like a haven of a particular vibration, and that vibration is almost like arriving and meeting a lover. In a certain sense, you come through and we have hugging here, after breakfast, sharings, dancing, beautiful people here. But like every love story, the honeymoon actually finishes.
Yes.
And then actually the real stuff starts to come up. So this is what happens after living for a while.
Totally, and we're in it, and we're journeying with it, and there's friendship meetings, and like I come from like wanting to be a peacekeeper, right? Like me. It's the people pleaser. It's keeping everything okay, and there's this part of me that's just like, I just want it to be total, euphoric love all the time, and it's not, and that's okay, because we are, we're in this continual process of like energies coming in, different people, different types of people, constellations shifting and changing all the time. And for me, I mean, I'm a Scorpio anyway, so for me it's like, ooh, what's here to learn? What else can we uncover? Because it continues on a daily basis, of like what interactions we have, how we're working with ourselves, how we're speaking to ourselves. So there is definitely a honeymoon period, and then a settling, and then is this my place? And for me, it feels really good to be committed to be here. I'm committed. It feels like part of my path.
Yeah.
I had the calling. You had Pune. I had Dorset.
Well,
it was like, go to Dorset. I was like, oh, well, I like Dorset. I spent a lot of time there as a kid, and I ended up here.
Yeah.
So.
We intelligent people end up here. Actually, intelligent people end up here and staying here because many people come, and people come to Leela for different reasons. People come for friendship, people come for meditation, people come to find a partner or to come out of isolation, for all these different reasons. But at the end of the day, they all have to face themselves. This is the thing. And of course, in Leela, I'll say for being British, we all want to be happy and smiley and be sugary as well. But as I say, after a while, the real stuff does tend to come up. And that's why we are an unusual crowd of people living under one roof. We're willing to look at our shit, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be done, eh?
Yeah.
So, Bhavo, you are in the process. You are currently, you have the pot in front of you that you're stirring.
Yeah, the cauldron.
The cauldron is what I'm talking about. And you are creating...
Let's say the crucible.
The crucible,
Yeah.
Okay, the crucible.
Witches have cauldrons.
Yeah. Okay, the crucible. I was thinking that, and then I was like, I don't know what the version is for you.
Alchemists have crucibles.
Crucibles, okay, I've learned something. Okay, so you've got your crucible, which is the same as is it like a pot as well?
It's a small pot.
Small pot, all right.
Yeah. It turns base metals into gold.
Okay, so we're alchemising and then bringing together and shaping, and you've got some wonderful witches on your team as well. You've got a wonderful Kamaya and Bayari. And there is they've got their cauldrons, you've got your crucible, and you're shifting all of your magic, all of the empowerment and the alchemy into what will be a 3-part training. Yeah, I believe. Yeah. And this is for the people that are wanting to share their gifts, that are coming into their power, that are ready to take off the masks and to really shine and be in their gifts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the training. So, seeing that my workshops have filled immediately, almost before I put them online, I'm encouraged very much by this to expand it, and so to take people on a journey. And so I've created a 3-part journey beginning in October, and it's about letting go of the past, coming into the present, and taking responsibility for the future, in a sense. So it'll be a 3-part journey. So the first part will be letting go of what's stopping you from expanding, meaning opening the throat chakra, letting go of any stuff which is there in the belly, allowing the heart to open, and making a connection with a small tribe of people that are committed to the same destiny, in a way, which is expansion, sharing gifts, and feeling very good being in a body with your voice, with your power, with your heart, and not being afraid of the other stuff which is inside you as well, meaning the shadow stuff and anything which is there too. So owning yourself completely, not just the good stuff, but the dark stuff too. And of course, we don't focus on the dark stuff because we want to move towards the light and bring people to the light, but we acknowledge it's there, and when it's there, we deal with it. So the second part will be working with your voice, working with the second workshop of this training, working with your voice, working with your belly, working with your energy, and also going deeper into the connection with your fellow travelers on this journey. And at this point, when you get to the second part of this journey, you're already feeling very, very good about who you are. It's a joyful journey fundamentally. It's not hard work. You do have to face your demons. So this journey is for people that want to challenge themselves, that are not afraid of looking inside, that have had enough or being stuck, that want to live their destiny as magicians, as wizards, as wise women, as light workers. So the workshop is for people on a spiritual journey that want to share it with others. And it doesn't have to be only yoga teachers or, if you like, meditation teachers. It can also be for someone that wants to share how to, if you like, stand in front of an audience and share how to do cookery classes, for example, but they're afraid to use their voice, because being a spiritual person doesn't mean you're just going to share your tarot or your yoga or your meditation courses or your Reiki. It can be anything where you're coming across with your heart and people feel you, and they can feel your love, they can feel your intention to support them to grow and expand. Because being spiritual, as I said, doesn't mean that you're all holy and sacred.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually really important, you know, the light workers who are out in the world, you know, doing kind of normal things and offerings, because they're shining their light. Which is a really important piece as well. It doesn't mean that you have to dress a certain way or be, you know, come in your particular outfits or anything like that. It's like you come as yourself, and we're all magical beings, and we've all got something to share within us. So,
well, yeah, actually, just want to say on that note, the work is not like therapist and patient. It's not like I know it and you guys don't know it. It's the meeting of the hearts and finding the connection, and then we all come together and grow together. Because I grow, I expand doing my work teaching and giving this work to the people is empowering you to share your work with the people.
Yeah. That's it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds wonderful, and we don't even know what it's called yet, so it's in the making. So watch this space. Do make sure you sign up for the emails, because that's where it will be kind of announced. And I think your workshop is nearly sold out now, so there's a continual wait list, right, for these kind of workshops.
Well, what I suggest is keep your eye on the Osho Leela website. The training will begin in October. The second module will be in December, and the final module will be in February. So it's 2 months apart to integrate what you've learned. And it will, like I said, be on the Leela website. And keep watching our Facebook posts and our
social
Instagram,
media,
everything else.
Okay. It sounds great. I'm looking forward to it all coming out and etc. We, before October though, however, we have some magic lined up in the form of the Osho Mystic Heart Festival. And I just want to share, because I was at I think I've been at the last two, but last year in particular, it's such a beautiful space, you know. This is a space where the kids are welcome. It's very much a kind of family kind of environment. And we have really profound workshops, really beautiful workshops, as well as, you know, just being on the land of Osho Leela in the summer, bank holiday. It's just such a lovely festival. And I just really loved it last year. I really loved the people that came, you know, the families that are kind of showing up. There's a newness to it. And also there's the sannyasins, the older people that come, that have been coming here for so long as well. So it's a real kind of like stirring pot of many people, and it's just a really beautiful space. So, and we have many new people on the lineup this year, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
So we've got a kind of fresh energy coming through. Can you talk into it a little bit?
Sure, Louise. Well, the Osho Mystic Heart. Well, I'll begin with Osho being a great mystic, one of the great mystics. And we always used to have an Osho festival here at the end of August, which was for kids. And then that somehow finished, but we needed another space for the Mystic Heart. So I amalgamated the Osho Festival with the Mystic Heart Festival, which I'd been doing for about 6-7 years. And it's grown meaning it's gone deeper, it's expanded now, it includes the Osho element, and it's a beautiful festival. The vibe is really beautiful, it has a sweetness of the heart. It has high vibration as well. So the workshops are all connected with expansion. They're connected with finding your guidance inside, connecting with your guides and your inner teachers, getting clarity about where you need to go, because there will be many different oracles, for example, and channels for you to get information from. There'll be ways for you to empower yourself. I will be running tasters of my empowerment training, magic training in it. There's going to be beautiful music, light and dance bands in the marquee. There'll be meditation bands also, plus an Osho band. We have 3 bands coming. And we have crystal healing, and we have shamanic workshops, journeys with cacao ceremonies, and there's going to be a shamanic journey in the teepee, and astrology, and all kinds of different stuff, which because I try to change it every year, so it has a different flavour, so people think, oh yeah, Mystic Heart's going to be this one, that one, and that one. No, this is a real fresh one for all you people that came to the last one, and it's even deeper and more beautiful, this one. And I choose very much who I work with this. I work with Bayari, who's a magical lady. She truly is. She makes these potions, and she has her own cauldron and things which she creates her own brews, and she's constantly doing the inner work, the inner magical work, actually. So it's important for me having a group of people who I have that connection with, to spirit, to create this festival. And it's 4 days. There will be ceremony in it where we all come together for manifesting. It's a very, very heartful journey that everybody comes on. I noticed that the last Mystic Heart, with the feedback from it, it was like an incredible space of love, actually. A space of love. Because as I say, without the love and the heart connection in it, the rest is like all mind. So it needs to come from a space of high vibration, meaning 4th chakra upwards. 4th chakra upwards, then we start to go to 3rd eye, and we can manifest, we can create, and we can start to see things. So it's a great festival.
Yeah, it really is. It's lovely, and yeah, I just love it. I love the family vibe. I love the fact that there's something for everybody, and very much look forward to it.
Yeah, the kids, actually, it's great because the kids are going to have their own little tarot sessions. The kids will have crystal healings. There's a clown coming as well, who is called the Mystic Clown, because it's also very light-hearted as well. you know, and he will do shows for the kids. So it's very good for the kids to come to this one because there's a full entertainment, magical schedule for them as well.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah.
It's looking very exciting. I love having the kids here. It brings a fresh energy, and they, not that they're allowed to run around the house too much, but when they do, it's like they cleanse it, you know, they clear energy, and it's really beautiful. So to have them, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this will happen, it's actually August 22nd to the 26th. It's actually online now and bookable.
Yeah.
We have made sure that the weather's going to be perfect for you. So don't worry about the weather. Being magicians here, we create our own weather systems.
Yeah, we do. We do.
So rest assured, it will be sunny and warm.
Yeah, it was funny because we just had Joy of Spring not long ago, and there was like a downpour of rain. It was crazy. But we did a sun dance. We did a few sun dances, and the sun came out. You know, and even though the weather was, you know, the ground was wet, it was just like, it was beautiful. It was so lovely. The sun was out, the blue sky came. The kids were running around outside, so yeah, it all came through. Just after the day of the torrential rain as people arrive. So it won't happen like that
happens at Leela, these things though. We just had an ecstatic dance retreat here, and it was like pouring with rain, pouring, as you know, being in Britain, what the weather has been like here, soaking the ground up completely. A week before it stopped, started to dry out. Ecstatic dance came, the sun came out, day it finished, poured down with rain again.
It's like, I'm just going to hold off for a little bit whilst you can frolic in the sunshine.
So we have our ways here.
Yeah. And so, the land is drying out now.
Yeah,
so
it is.
It's good. Okay, well, Bhavo, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Who knows how long it's been? We've been in a time warp.
That's true. Well, thank you.
We actually... we have dinner together sometimes, don't we? And we don't stop talking, so this is nothing new.
No, exactly.
Really.
So it's like just sharing out, talking with you.
Yeah. Okay, dear. Well, everything can be found on the website. It can be, have a look at www.osholeela.co.uk. Mystic Heart is on there. And keep an eye out for what's next from Bhavo, because there will be more magic to come. Thank you for watching. Please do share this if you've been inspired, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're very happy to chat. Lots of love. Take care. Bye.